electronic music was built by trans, blacks and queers. So respect those foundations in these four walls and we will have a good day.
Well, it's a bit of an exclusive then. We'll dive into that, definitely.
What's your problem with our industry? I walked in and I was like, when can I start? He's like, what do you mean? It wasn't an easy process to say, this is it, we've done it. Really simple, put the punter first. And you know, like a lot of us on the team are punters.
Before we start the next episode, just want to say a huge thank you very much to everybody who has tuned in, subscribed, liked. We couldn't do this without you, and we're going to do everything in our power to make this one of the best music podcasts ever. But we do need your support. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, but always click that subscribe button so we can keep sending you the best podcasts. So here's the next episode. Thanks. Welcome back to Loud Unfiltered, the podcast where we speak to some of the legends and best people to work in the music industry. Today we've got a super exciting guest for you. Some might call him a true titan of the UK nightlife, which we were just joking about. He's had a hand in running some of the UK's best electronic music venues, from the Albert Hall in Manchester to the legendary Printworks to currently at Drumsheds. He is the director of live operations at Broadwick Live, overseeing venues such as Drumsheds and Magazine. We're super excited to have Sam on to the podcast. We want to find more about what you do and more about these venues and stuff like that. But yeah, welcome to the podcast, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having us, Titan. I was like, when you started the interview, I was like,
I don't even know what that means.
Titan of the industry. I was like, when did we last use that word? But I really appreciate your words, and I think there's a lot of people who do jobs like mine that work in the night that don't get to sit on podcasts, and you know, the grafters behind the scenes. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, I really want to just dive into really find out more about the venues you work on, really more about what you do. I see you out and about a lot, but you generally you look busy, but I want to find out what you're actually doing.
Yeah, just pretending to look busy.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretending to look busy. So I work for a company called Broadwick Live, which is a promoter who puts shows on across Broadwick venues, but also outside of Broadwick venues. So we do about 100 shows across London in other venues, all the way down to like similar size to Acoustic Studios, or Acoustic Studios, in fact, all the way up. So we promote in and outside of our venues. I look after all of our events that are inside our venues, and I kind of run the operations. Well, I run the operations for that world, and that's kind of production, artist delivery, operational delivery, security, all of that jazz. So all the nuts and bolts are pulling that together. And I guess a part of that is stakeholder management. So managing relationships with who needs managing across the board. So any kind of relationships there. So that's a big part of my job. And then outside of that, look after, I sit on the Nighttime Taskforce for the Mayor. So we've just announced our 23 recommendations. There were 189.
All right, cool. Yeah,
23, but we'll get on.
Yeah, we're going to get really into that because I'm super interested in that. That's a big deal, I think.
Yeah, I think a big deal for everyone. I think even I've not digested that one yet. So
right, okay. All right. Well, it's a bit of an exclusive then. We'll dive into that, definitely. I mean, it sounds like you're a busy guy with all these different venues. But yeah, I just want to dive kind of straight into Drumsheds. So that was the kind of venue that's made a big impact on the London scene kind of over the last 2 years. Like, yeah, what does your kind of role at Drumsheds kind of entail on the day of the show to when the shows are not on?
Yeah, well, I think even just taking a step back, because we had the old Drumsheds, which was next door.
Oh yeah,
the current Drumsheds we were at. So we used to have the warehouses next door and the field next door, where like there's been loads of like unlicensed music events and like stuff on the water. They got the canal on. Is
that where Field Day? We had Field Day
back in the day, and we've had all sorts of shows there. So IKEA was next door. That was naturally where we all got our lunch, and we'd go and buy all of our fucking consumables and whatever that was. But we'd be next door, and I think the idea came on is that rather than just things closing and retail spaces being available of that size, it's very rare that we had a space. So we started there, and we moved in fast, and we gutted it, and we kind of built from there. So all of our production. We've got 3 rooms, X, Y, and Z, 15,000 capacity, but a lot of the events run around like the 10, 11 mark because of production, and we move a lot of things in across the space. So it's just been growing from day to day. And I think like when we talk about my job in the venues is to kind of listen to customers. So we've got a full team now that just like is listening to customers online and pulling in the feedback, and then we're just developing every week.
So every show you learn something new, and you like changing things and listening to customers. That's being and like that.
Customers being like the toilets this time, Sam and team. They are too far away. You know, like Printworks might have been a few memes when we were like the toilet. Everyone had to go downstairs for the toilet.
Yeah, I remember
Drumsheds is a bit like they're a bit too far. So it's like, all right, let's try and get the toilets on level 1. Or actually, room 2 isn't fantastic. So this year we're like, you know, we're going to bring in a production partner from France, and we're going to develop it so it feels like a club. It's in the round. So we've just done that.
Do you really get involved in like kind of how it looks and what it is and stuff like that?
Yeah, all of the because we're constantly in ideation.
Yeah,
when it's like it's never like, right, we've got a box, that's it. It's constantly going back to the drawing board and going, how do we make this more mint than it was before, even if we didn't think it was mint, or actually let's rip up the rule book, or why are we doing it that way, you know?
And I guess that depends on who the promoter is as well, on what their production is and showcase and things like that. Is your job trying to help them like bring their show to life as well, I guess?
Yeah, 100%. Like the production team are constantly meeting all of our promoters and brand partners to go about how do we make that look different, or how is that for a more headsy show, or how is that for a commercial show, or you want it to, you know, main aim might be like, actually we want a broadcast. You know, we did you know, some Spotify stuff. We've done Red Bull Culture Clash, where it's actually like they want to go out live on a certain way. So it's like every show's got a different kind of manifest on what they want to get out of it.
Yeah. What's kind of you're coming towards, I think it's the end of a new season. Kind of, how's the last few months been for the venue? What's been some of the standout stuff for you?
I think like, you know, we've had I think at this scale it's been great to have some of the larger black music events at our space, because it's just like they are fucking mint, pardon my language, but they're like, they come down.
Swear as much as you want on this podcast,
like, you know, like getting 10, 15,000 people down to that space for a day celebration outside of the summer shows. It's not really anywhere else it's happening outside of Carnival. And I think, you know, we've managed to get that flag where we're like, it's not our flag, it's just that we're flying a flag. And I think like ultimately like that probably spoke to me the most. We've done a lot of the we've done a lot of the queer LGBTQ stuff a lot across the years, you know, across different events. And it's great to kind of just enforce that with like black music. Just really promote it and be around it and support it and be like, actually, we are fully behind this.
Yep, amazing.
You know, Afro Nation, City Splash.
Yeah, I was going to mention City Splash. Yeah. It's just amazing, and to put that amount of numbers through on probably a cold, rainy weekends, like and a minute, just for people to travel up there as well. Yeah,
those are the shows actually where we're like, we have more people wanting to work. On the black music shows, everyone's like, we are working on that show, so we always end up with like the 10-10 team,
right? Okay,
because obviously we've got like we have a staff workforce of like anywhere between 750 to 1,000 people working on any one show.
Really? Wow!
So it's
like, that's a lot. I didn't realize it was that many people. Just what, from security to bar staff to
bar staff, cleaning teams, stewards, management teams, you know, artist liaison teams. Like, you think about it, it's like a stadium's worth of people working on that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, wow.
And those people, I always say actually in my briefs, this isn't Millwall away, you know, like, because the day before they might have been at Millwall working as security.
Yeah.
This is like, please do not use pronouns. Do you know what I mean? Stop calling everyone sir or he, him. It's like, just, you know, like, so you've got to reinforce, because the workforce is the workforce. You know, security is security. One might work at, you know, Colour Factory on a Wednesday night and then be with us on a Friday. They're not loyal to anyone's space. They want to earn the bread.
Yeah, definitely. Oh wow. Like, well, you've made some changes to the venues over the last year. What kind of changes did you make? And what you talked about getting feedback from the customers and things like that. And how you constantly making that space a better space.
I think one of the biggest ones is the sound in the room, and I think you have to go through a certain amount of shows across a certain different type amount of genres of music with different frequencies to kind of get the position where we're actually like, right, when we're we're nearing there. And I think, there's been a big effort from the production team and a big uplift in additional sound in room X and how the sound is in room Y. So I think we've had loads of feedback on that, and I think feedback's great. I think what might work on one show might not work on another. We've got to remember we do LSO Symphony Orchestra into Andy C. It's like completely different layouts. So having our eye on the ball for that has been a big one, and I think also everyone understanding that room dynamics are different, humidities, etc. The way sound performs on any one show will be different to the other. But having great sound technicians and people that have really kicked our tires to make it better and put an uplift on it, that's been a big one.
I was going to ask, how is it kind of compared to the other venues that Broadwick have, like Magazine and then obviously Printworks and stuff? Have you learned from those venues then to bring into this to Drumsheds?
I think so. You kind of like. Well, you'd be a dick if you didn't learn, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course.
You would be, if I was like, actually, we've learned nothing.
Yeah, that was fine, yeah.
What we've learned is absolutely fuck all, and we're just going to go into it blind over a new venue. But I think because we've got some of the team that have been with us for 8-9 years, and we've failed, multiple times across the run.
Best way to learn, isn't it?
Exactly. So I think because we've failed, I think on multiple occasions, or lots of occasions, probably daily, I think it's like you can take that into your stride and go, actually, we shouldn't do that, or that's a bad idea. So there's enough people on the team now that have been burnt across the years to actually kind of across all of our projects to point it out. But in terms of lessons, I think the fundamentals are really simple. Punter first.
Yeah,
it's like you can't really get that once you think about anything else. It's really simple. Put the punter first, and a lot of us on the team are punters. We go out, we like partying, we go to the clubs. We might not go to a Drumsheds club, but we'd go to a fold. There's people and people are like, well, actually, people do it differently, and that's great.
Yeah. Do you think it's important that your team are out there experiencing other clubs in the London and seeing what's going on and things like that, and then bring the good things back to your venues? Yeah.
I think it's fundamental.
Yeah.
I think, and also not even just London, going out to mainland Europe or Brazil or wherever we can get to, which is
Brazil sounds nice.
Yeah, I know Brazil. I'm like Brazil. I'm just thinking everyone's at Carnival now.
It's Carnival now.
Where do I want to go? If you're listening to this, send me to Brazil. But if people can go and do more stuff, the better ideas we've got. Like ultimately, if we all go to the Royal Albert Hall every Tuesday, we're going to build the Royal Albert Hall. If we all go to a fold every Sunday for Unfold, we're naturally going to think that's our thing. So having everyone around the table to go, this is what I like from there, this is what I like from there. Sam, that's shit. Ops team, that's great. This is where we hear great sound,
Yeah, amazing. What kind of sets Broadwick kind of apart from, obviously you've been there a number of years now, what kind of sets them apart as a venue operator?
Well, I think and
a company,
yeah, for sure. I think like breaking down, we're a promoter, so we're Broadwick Live. We promote shows in venues that are sometimes a part of the Broadwick group. So I think like we've got the ability to we've got the ability to change like any other promoter going into any other venue. So I think that's key. I think what's different to us is that we've got to keep our finger on the pulse and also realise that when something ain't going our way, I think there's a lot of honest people on the team that were just like, that's not the one.
Yeah, that's a good thing to have, definitely. Obviously you've had quite a long career with Broadway. I really wanted to get into like, how did you first get into doing this? Well, I mean, what were you doing before you got into electronic music? And you're from the north, yeah?
Yeah.
So what were you doing before?
You know what? It's funny because every time I've been going into some of these stories because of just recently, I basically was training to be an actor in Manchester. So I was at drama school. I basically met a guy in a bar called Dan Mullen, who was at Gorilla Bar in Manchester.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And it was, what was this? was the kind of pinnacle house movement, you know, the Jamie Jones era, Hot Creations.
Right, okay,
That
the
sound
glory
like
days, the glory days.
dripping Kaluki,
Yeah.
Gorilla, you know, that kind of style. Dripping sweat from the roof, ventilation probably not working.
The good days.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I remember being sat at this cocktail bar. There was a cocktail bar in the club. You're like, what the fuck's this? You're like, is this a new generation of going out? And I met this guy, and he said, I'm opening a club down the road. And I was like, what do you mean you're opening a club down the road? My ears pricked up, and he was like, yeah, it's in a Wesleyan chapel. I didn't know what a Wesleyan chapel was then, and probably still not now. But I was like, Wesleyan chapel. I was like, right, can I come and see it tomorrow? And he was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, I'll ride my bike over tomorrow and I'll come and see it. Anyway, unbeknownst to him, I turn up at the door and it's kind of got all the sheets on the door. And I give him a knock. Anyway, I go in and it's like this amazing hall, like nothing you've ever seen before. Have you been to the Albert Hall in Manchester?
I haven't actually, but I've seen lots of videos, lots of pictures. So I know what it looks like. Yeah.
So I walked in and I was like, when can I start? He's like, what do you mean? And I just blagged him that I worked in music, and I was like, you know, I was the person that you wanted to. And he went, well, I've not got a job for you. And I was like, well, I'll do anything. And he was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, well, what you missing? And he was like, well, I need someone to do the cloakroom. So I was like, right, well, I'll do the cloakroom. And that was, so I did the cloakroom, and that was the show. Actually, the show was New Year's Eve with Frankie Knuckles, Hacienda show.
Oh, wow.
So that was my first show working in electronic in clubs. I ran the cloakroom.
I love that. We've had so many people on the pod that's like, we always ask them what was their first job, and it's like, you run in the cloakroom. There's some people putting up posters, some people flying. It's like, it's actually quite humbling to like, just especially for people who are trying to get into the industry, knowing that you don't just go straight in at a high-end job. You've literally got to start from the beginning and graft. Just touching on that, we're on it. It's like, is there any advice that you give to people who are trying to get into electronic music or trying to get into working with venues and things like that?
Well, I think even to the end of that story, the only reason I got the job is because we lost so many Stone Island codes. And it was how I dealt with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, genuinely, it was like, I think we'd lost...
Especially Hacienda as well.
Everyone was in a Stone Island coat. But I think, you know, everyone goes in with this idea that people want people to be perfect. Actually, what we want, our industry isn't perfect. And I think my biggest bit of advice is like how you react when it doesn't go your way. That's the kind of how you deal with under pressure, what kind of scenarios you've got in the background. You know, junior people coming into the industry, I always say, like, have an A, B, and C plan. You know, like that's that, because ultimately people around you are going to see that and think, oh, I need them to help me when I'm in the shit.
Yeah, I was going to say in the shit. Yeah, I suppose that helps with what you're doing now with the operations and stuff like that. There's constant problems happening. I was going to ask that. What's been any like standout issues you've had with running a venue? I'm guessing there's always something happen or anything. Is there any like standout thing that's happened across the various venues?
We've had so many. I'm like, probably some that definitely aren't podcast worthy, but maybe, well, to name a few, I think we've had all sorts of go on across the years. Like, I mean, we've had so many different curveballs where you're like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
We had a point where Solid Grooves, Printworks, I was in the control room running the show. Do you know this story?
Yeah.
Do you know where it's going?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I got a radio call to say large fight. And I was thinking, that isn't the code word we use for large fight. And I was like, urgent large fight. So I've gone running in, and I'm in probably what looks like a snide cream Burberry jacket, probably about 5 stone heavier, with my earpiece running. So I've gone running down the corridor to what I thought was a large fight, and what they were saying on the radio was a large pipe. Come down, and someone had done a pull up right above the Grand MA at the back of Printworks, and it was just like, I mean, it was like the room was just filled with water. It was like the Grand MA was just being absolutely pissing down water on it. I'd slipped in the water. It was like a comedy sketch. The music, no one knew what was going on at stage. So, the team on stage were all, trying to pull it off. I saw Bibi when I was in Thailand a few weeks ago, and we were talking about it. We were just like, some of those stories, just like, did that actually happen?
But it's just the way you guys dealt with it really fast and safely and things like that as well.
100%.
Yeah.
I think
you have to be prepared for these type of things happening, which is
Well, trust me, we knew where the stop valve was for every. You say about lessons now.
Yeah.
Every venue, we know where water's running, where the stop valve is, and where the water is going to go if anything happens in the sprinklers. So, but yeah, I mean, we've had loads of stuff. We've had toilets go down where you've got to get hundreds of plastic toilets and pay them cash as they're being dropped off across the years. I think like operators you've always got a plan for everything going wrong.
And kind of leads me on to like where did you kind of learn this then and cut your teeth? Well, did you have any was there a mentor that you kind of looked up to and worked with and taught you all of this, or was it you just kind of picked it up as you went along, or so you've worked at lots of different venues? I guess they've had different operators or different leaders. Well, where kind of you kind of
I think trade? The Albert Hall in Manchester. I work with my good friend. She does Depot now. She's the one of the ops directors at Depot. Natalie. She was my boss in Albert Hall, and she worked me hard. So hard. She worked all the hours hard. She was like everything out of it. But people like her, in my early days, were instrumental for me being able to do everything and be like, well, that's not good enough. What do you mean you've not booked the staff to gigs tonight? Fair enough. Maybe that is a big fuck up. But generally being across things is like, so she probably taught me in my early days everything that I knew. And then when I came down to London, after leaving Manchester without a job, and just jumped on my mate's sofa.
You just came down here.
And probably thought I knew everything, and then I was like, you need to relearn it all again. So being around like Sim on the team at Broadwick, who's one of the owners, who just like pushes it hard and makes sure that everything looks great. But even just artists being around, being now better than a feeling when you've got a mate who's been you see for years. Every time we have Paulette play, she's like. She comes and just gives you a big bag of, a big hug, and she's like, "Right, where's my cup of tea?"
Oh, right, amazing.
You know what I mean? So it's like, having like the Paulettes of the world, the young, the old, and and everything in the middle. I think it's good to have peers that would kick your tires ultimately if you went a certain way and kept you on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, great. I mean, obviously, I want to talk about London. So you've moved down to London now. You've got your role. Where do you kind of see? You've seen the London scene probably change over the last couple of years. Obviously, there's been a lot of venues shut. There's a lot of venues opening. Where do you see where London's at in a minute? Not just from your venue point of view, but from kind of where it is and where do you think it's going to go, kind of thing.
Well, I think like we've just done this state of play, I guess, so to speak, with the task force report. This is the current state and what we're reporting on. So
do you just want to explain what the task force is?
Yeah, so the London task force was set up basically to give the mayor recommendations on how we look at the future of nightlife. How we recognise nightlife as culture. It's really simple, but reminding everyone that nightlife is culture. And then also like the recommendations that are not going to fix it. There's no magic bullet, but going to support people to around nightlife and support people who work in nightlife in a way better way. So that was set up. There was 11 members. You've got like Nadine from Pussy Palace. You've got Nathaniel from Colour Factory, Alice who used to work at Corsica, and some amazing other people. Mike Hill from the NTIA, Kate Nichols, an absolute powerhouse group. People, small, medium, large operators, trade bodies, economic, all coming together to kind of debate what our recommendations were for the future. But in terms of how I feel about the current state of play, I feel like we're coming out of. I feel like if you work in nightlife, it was miserable for some time. The economic state's been. We're not even going to go into that because we know all the bits that are really, really challenging for both people that want to go out and the spaces that want to operate. It's both the same way. It's harder for venues and spaces to operate. It's harder for punters to go out because costs are up. So it's like it's on both sides. So something's got to give. And I think we've got more and more than ever right now, we've got the political buy-in of politics, which I've just never really been around. Been invited to Parliament twice.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
If you would have said to with Sam Spencer on losing Stone Island coats in Albert Hall that you're going to be going to represent the music industry or the electronic music industry, at Parliament, I would
That
have
must be
got
quite an amazing feeling. Like,
yeah, mad,
yeah.
absolutely mad. But like we've hosted an electronic music select committee, and wait a minute, an electronic music select committee at Drumsheds. I mean, it's like some of these things are just like mental. I think the biggest thing we've got is that everyone's rallying around each other.
Yeah, this
Small,
is good.
medium,
Everyone's like they've
large.
been creating a scene. Well, the scene's there, but it's like everyone like kind of helping each other out a little bit and wanting to push things forward and push things forward in the right way, I guess. Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, is that for once it's starting to feel like our industry isn't pointing in and we're now pointing out. And I think that's a big, big thing to take away, because, I asked one of the MPs who came to the select committee, what's your problem with our industry? And they're like, what is your issue? They're like, you don't have one ask, you have 19. One wants VAT reduction, one wants business rates relief, one wants, to remove the levy on movement of people through Europe. Like, we've got a lot of asks. And I think, like, Live, the team at Live with MVT and various others around that, NTIA, the bodies are now starting to come together to speak a bit more as one.
Yeah, to
the industry is now
and
following it, and the task force is kind of a representation of a lot of the work that the bodies have been doing to kind of get. It's not just one person flying a flag and going, "We're going to fix this." Actually, we're all pointing in the right direction and going, "Actually, these are some of the fixes that will help alleviate the issues."
Do you feel like they're kind of listening to you as well? Do you feel like they will act on what you're putting forward? Is that kind of the point of it? And
I mean, I hope.
Yeah.
I hope they act on it. Like, I think the mayor's team have been super supportive in London in terms of like this.
Right, great. I mean, that's the kind of what I want to know, how supportive they are, or is it?
The mayor, the deputy mayors, they are invested in making, like, they say they're invested in culture in London, and I believe they are from the conversations I've had. And I'm not just being a puppet on stage, and I've been asked to come here to fly the flag for the GLA. That's not what I'm here to do. But I think they understand what the impact and what a driver is for culture. If that means pedestrianising Oxford Road so they can do community events down it, or night markets or culture events on the corner of the road. I think it's a stumbly road. There's a lot of blockers, but I think we've got, we announced the commission. So the one of the biggest recommendations was, this isn't any one person's job. This is a group of people that are democratically brought in, and that's all got to be TBC on where that happens. But the idea from the task force is that a group of people are better than one, because we've got so many different groups and working streams to come into that. So that's really exciting, having a commission representing nighttime economy in London, for the capital.
That's big.
I think it's big.
Yeah, because you see there's like other, I suppose other cities are doing it around the world as well. It feels like London was kind of missing that. It feels like that's kind of happened. I love the fact there's lots of different people from different walks of life and different parts of the London scene coming together to try and change.
Do you think it's changed much then? I was gonna.
And in terms of, I mean, I don't go out that much anymore in London. I've only actually been to Drumsheds twice as well, so I wasn't even going to mention that. It was fucking massive.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was really good. The sound and production just another level. Like unreal. I went to a Terminal V show.
Right. Yeah. Great show.
I wasn't really into hard techno, but it was a mad show, and it was just crazy how big it was, and it was like every show, every room was busy as well, so it was good. I'm loving the fact, like, there's more venues opening, there's more choice for people. And I don't know. Yeah, I like the fact that the nighttime economy is being talked about. The fact that you guys are going to Parliament talking about it, I think, is absolutely incredible. And it's like there's surely something's going to come off that if people are actually listening. Actually, you guys are meeting. I don't know how often you meet, but you're trying to change things and bring up topics that need to be discussed that probably aren't being discussed. So yeah, definitely think it's a good thing.
I think on that though as well, I do think that, like, bigger venues have a responsibility to stand up for that stuff. Like, I genuinely, like, the amount of times I get a phone call from a queer space in Dalston that's got a licensing issue, or a cinema that's got a night problem. I think, like, bigger venues and bigger businesses that are at scale should be out there flying the flag for everyone, because ultimately they're the people that are going to change things and hopefully push things in a certain direction. So
yeah, definitely, yeah, because I suppose you guys are the ones that get noticed a little bit more or talked about a bit more.
It's not also, it's just like the scale we can be like, we're representing all these people. It's like, when we go into these rooms, we're not just representing Drumsheds, we're representing Fold, the Corsicas. We're talking about the same noise issues that represent everyone's noise issues, or the same economic issues, or transport. It's not just like words. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. What is kind of your role? Is it, do you have a specific role within the task force and what you're kind of tasked with, or is it like just a collective thing and you all coming together?
It's a big collective, but I reckon we all like leaned into areas that we knew more. For being an operator, I understood licensing maybe a little bit more because I worked across all the boroughs in London.
Yep.
We had venues in a lot of the boroughs, so it was like I understood the pains that licensing's been for some. Some people lent into noise because they understood the noise issues and they understood, technically what that meant. And then some people lent into the economics because they might be like a trade body and they understand they've been fighting for that. So for me, it's about putting your best team players in the right working groups who understand that most. And then they kind of brought it back, but heavily debated, like the recommendations. I think it's really like, it's not like it's glitzy as it's come out. It was like, it wasn't an easy process to say this is it. We've done it. I mean, it was like a lot of late.
Yeah, there's now. I was going to say there's a lot of work, look like hard work ahead now. It's like, yeah, it's launched, it's happening. So no, I think it's amazing what you're doing with it. It seems like you've got a really good collective of people together, like driving it forward. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to lead to. Like we talked obviously about the doom and gloom and stuff like that, but yeah, what do you really feel like the future of London is then? In terms of that, obviously we talked about the task force there, but like what's kind of future of venues, and also like customer profiles as well, of like what do you feel like Londoners are looking for in a venue, or are they looking for more smaller venue, more intimate stuff, or are they looking for maybe these big production style shows, or different types of venues? Because I know Broadwick have so many different types of venues as well.
I think people are looking. I mean, like, listen, I go out all the time, and like I don't go out to any one space. Like I'll go out for a gig one night and then I'll go out to a small club another night. I think it's really easy to say that people are looking for a certain thing. I think Seb said it really funny from Fold.
Yeah.
He when we did the select committee, he was like, people go to church every week. Some people go to church. Some people go to a chapel. And then sometimes every now and then you might go to a cathedral. And he was kind of saying, like, that doesn't really matter which one you choose when, but you might choose that you go to your cathedral twice a year for your big show. You might go to your chapel every now and then, and your church is, well, I think he was insinuating his church is his club on a Sunday at Unfold. So,
yeah.
Well, I think it was kind of a good, because it was like,
that's a great analogy of that.
Kind of reminds everyone that actually there's something for everyone, and everyone can, everyone's a part of that.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. I wanted to ask you about a few other things you've been working on. Tell us a little bit more about what transmission is and what you guys are doing with that.
Yeah. So, I went to the trans protest, and when the ruling came out about trans people, and obviously we've seen the challenges around trans rights in the UK, and the pull from the right wing media and everything that a lot of our trans friends are going through. And I think we put this idea together. I called a friend who works for a company called Good Law Project, and I said, maybe we should do something. And he was like, well, actually, there's another group of people who are chatting about this. Let's get everyone together. And that happened to be Mighty Hoopla and Ollie from Years and Years. And we've ended up pulling this show together. So we've got a show at Wembley on Wednesday, 11th of March. Not plugging it, but definitely buy tickets.
Right. Yeah, go for it.
We've got this big show on Wednesday, the 11th of March, and it's all about trans solidarity. So we've got Sugar Babes, SG Lewis, Romy, High, Adam Lambert. We've got so many people, trans voices, choirs, probably Ian McKellen. There's so many talkers on the show, and I think it's kind of the reason we're involved is, and I say this to all of my team before the show who might have been at Millwall the day before. I say,
love that Millwall.
Yeah, but because it goes full circle. Electronic music was built by trans, blacks, and queers. So respect those foundations in these four walls, and we will have a good day. And ultimately that's what why Broadwick is. We're a promoter of electronic music. Of course, we're going to back trans people.
Yeah.
I think, and that's what we're doing. And I think,
Okay, amazing.
and also I think like we've got so many people of our suppliers that have come out and gone, yeah, don't worry, we'll give you 100 grand's worth of production kit for free.
Oh, really? Oh,
Like,
wow, brilliant.
we some of our audio suppliers and production suppliers have all just kind of rallied around us to go, we're obviously behind that. And I think it's been really heartwarming to have that. And I think it's going to be a great show.
Yeah, is it at the main Wembley Stadium?
No, it's at Over Arena.
Oh, right, okay.
Originally, I was like, we're going to do a Hyde Park. I was like, get Live Aid back together. I was like, I'm calling Live Aid. We're doing it. We have had some moments. We've had some pinch me moments, but you should come down.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. The lineup sounds great as well. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love all that, what you're doing. Now we couldn't talk about the podcast without talking about Printworks, because it was literally a game changer. I feel for the London scene. It must have been an amazing thing to work on. Like, yeah, just tell us a bit about that, and like how involved you were with that, and some you mentioned the Solid Groove show there. Just some of the amazing shows. What went on there? Yeah,
I think I was there from 2017, so again started on New Year's Eve. Maybe there's something in me starting.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, was the Hacienda show on New Year's Eve?
Yeah. My first gig was ever New Year's Eve, and then when I started on Printworks, that was a New Year's Eve gig as well. So I started maybe a year into the project. So they'd done Secret Cinema, and then they'd done shows, and then I joined them. But I think I don't think any of us knew at the time how special that was going to be for a lot of people. I definitely didn't. I definitely think there was a lot of making it up as we went. We evolved every season. Production evolved, the way we move people around the room. That was the kind of evolution of us all thinking that things just constantly evolve. And that was like where we got it to from where we started, was a place that actually probably at the start people were like, this, I don't know if we like this. We'd probably get a bit more neggy energy around Printworks, to the point at the end where it was like we had people camping outside on the last show.
Oh, wow.
From flown in from Argentina on that last weekend.
Because it kind of, I mean, we actually worked on a bit of the PR for it as well. So it was just amazing to be involved in it. And it was, it became this global thing as well. It was like being talked about with some of the best clubs, some of the best clubs in the world, and still is known to that day. And like the production was amazing. It was, it just became this, as you said, I don't think anybody really knew. It just kind of came out of nowhere and then just became this massive thing. Was there any like massive highlights for you from those days?
I think there was some shows where you're like, all right, that was, Aphex Twin show was just like having Aphex in what was it, our live room. So we'd gone through all this pain of like going through demolition to make it maybe like a few meters wider, to let the promoters actually realize that we could put live stuff in there. And everyone was like, it's too narrow. And then we'd put Aphex in there. I was like, we love it. Aphex Twin, Bicep. We did, but on top of that, we had like, Dua Lipa recording a satellite TV show for China. Same time we also had Batman being filmed there. So it was like,
yeah, I remember reading about that. Yeah.
So we kind of just had it was like an era of like, pinch me, like what is next? Like what is the show that's going to come in next, or something where you're like, what is going on here? But I think not any one person can take the full glory for Printworks, because it was so many people involved, and I think like by the end of it, it was just great to see everyone coming together for that closing weekend.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Yeah, why do you think it was a real game changer? Was it something that London needed at that time, or what was?
I think like that daytime model of like midday until 10:30, like be in bed by midnight. I think that would, like, on that scale, I think people just hadn't necessarily seen in a legal space for London. I think it's probably fair to say. Yeah, I think in a legal space that was allowed, so it kind of felt a bit naughty but a bit right. Yeah. So it was like, I think that was that that
rawness of it, and so because we actually had one of the old school rave promoters on the pod a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about doing shows in mad spaces like what Broadwick do. So I can definitely, it did have that feeling to it.
I think it just brought everyone together, old, young. Everyone, the older party goers had been in those raves, but probably weren't legal. Young had never seen anything like it. And the people in the middle was like, yes. So we probably just, like some of the shows were just like everyone coming together. And it was like, Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those moments where you're like, as if we just did that.
Yeah, it was just an era defining venue basically, and a game changer for the London scene. What's next for Sam Spencer then? It's like what it's like you sound like a busy boy. Like what is next for you? Just to growing within your role at Broadwick and doing the task force stuff and transmission and everything else like that. What is next kind of for you?
I think ultimately, like doing more amazing shows and doing more. You can't chase a Printworks moment, because if you go chasing for it, you're never going to find it, in my view. So it's about staying with what's current now and making sure that we've got that the team at Broadwick are always forward thinking, and we're putting on some amazing shows for the punters. That ultimately, like, we're doing it for that. And I think whilst doing that, if I can support everyone else around us through the task force or conversations and backing the industry, then great, because we all win. Ultimately, if everyone has a good time going out, more people are going to go out. It's really simple.
Yeah, that's it really. Yes, keeping people out and working together. I just love that analogy and what you're doing with it. But mate, thank you very much for coming on the pod. It was like I really wanted to find out more about the Printworks days and what's going on with Drumsheds. But keep working hard, mate. Because it sounds like you got a lot on your plate.
I know I'm going to be knackered, but thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Thank you.